All right, all right, all right. Welcome, welcome. Greetings. Grandpa Hoppy here again with the Retirement Chronicles. Uh, Hope you're having a good day. I had a thought. This would be my fourth episode of the Retirement Chronicles, something I started about a week ago, and just had a couple people encourage me to do this just because I have things to share. And we go through life, experiencing new experiences. And what I've learned, and I'll do another episode on that, uh, just learning from other retired people. And it started with me at a young age, probably 5 years old. I grew up on a little hill. We called it the hill. And there was 5 homes, and 4 out of the 5 homes, it was retirement families that lived in the houses. So I grew up with not kids to play with, except my sister and brother. I grew up with retired men sitting around a fire pit and listening to them for 15 years as I grew up as a child. And I have a lot of insights from them and learn from people that had already experienced life through their life experiences. I learned that was very beneficial at a very young age, and they were like heroes to me. All 4 of them were extraordinary men in my lives, and of course they had some. The best thing about those men were their mamas. I mean, not their mamas, their wives, and so anyway, that's just a side note. So today's heading would be, why so many pills? As you get older, why so many pills? You got to wonder, 100 years ago, did they have that many pills? I don't think so. They had some things that they used, a lot of people did. And I'm going to share today kind of my story a little bit. Just, it's not going to be complete detail, but I can't share anything without sharing, I feel like the most important part. So my journey started really recent journey. I got a sickness about 20 months ago. I thought back, it's about 20 months ago. I think it hit me in July, the hardest. Maybe I started getting sick in June, which would have been 25 months ago. But really about 20 months ago, I had a sickness, and I come to know, I think it was RSV. I think that's what it's called, RSV. I think I got it from my grandchildren who got it from daycare. Give me a sip of coffee. I've struggled with asthma, and really asthma hit me about 10 years ago, 10 or 12 years ago. I've struggled with asthma and respiratory issues. And I've taken about 3 regular drugs a day for a while. And I didn't really like being on those pills. And that started about 10 years ago on that respiratory. And so I struggled at least 2 or 3 times a year with a respiratory sickness, battled that for way before I retired. And so, not to string it out too long, but about 20 months ago, I got really sick again. I had COVID like 3 times during the COVID spells. The first time before they even came out with saying it was COVID in November 2019, I got it. And that was not documented, of course, but looking back, that was it. And then the following year, I got it in January of 21. And then I got it again in January of 22. About a year, all 3 times about a year apart. But after I got COVID, and I realized that people have different opinions on that. Some say it wasn't COVID, it was something else, and maybe it's correct. But I know the COVID test I took said positive, and I got really sick afterwards from the post-COVID, kind of like the flu. You get the flu, and then you get the 1 month after, you get the secondary problems. And that's what hit me, hit my asthma. I got pneumonia a couple times on those spells and just got really sick. So I was on my medicine, and so through this the spell I got in July was different because it was the middle of the summer, and I got really sick. I think it was post RSV, and about a month after I had that RSV, and me and my wife, she got sick too. That's why I think it was RSV. And we did the COVID test, didn't have COVID. We did the flu test and didn't have flu. And that was documented. We didn't have either one of those. We couldn't figure out what's wrong with. And I got secondary, and my wife got better, Charlotte. And so then I think it was the RSV, but it really hit me hard. I got really sick. By August, I had sleep problems for a month, couldn't sleep laying down. And after a month of no sleep, I felt like I was going to die. My wife would beg me to go to the emergency room like at 3 o'clock in the morning on multiple nights. And I would stay up all night sitting in a chair. And that had been going on a month. And I finally says, I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. I'm not going to the emergency room, but I'll go to the doctor tomorrow. And that was in August. And so I did go. And that's when my journey of maybe getting well, and I had no idea that I was going into a situation where I couldn't really see a doctor, a specialized doctor we're talking about. So my regular doctor, and I'm not going to mention doctors' names because I don't want this blog to be for that. But so my regular doctor really didn't know what was wrong with me. At least the nurse practitioner didn't. But she knew I was deathly sick. She knew I was bad. I mean, the vitals she got from me, she stood at attention and said, we got to get you to some specialists. And I started booking appointments, and I had kidney doctor, I had liver doctor. I told her I felt like I had cancer, and she just kind of blew that off. Why would you think that? And I said, well, I've got cancer in my family. And this just appears to I've got lung cancer or something. Of course, they took pictures of my lungs, and it showed I was sick. And so she started booking appointments, and I couldn't ever. So the lung doctor, I went to 2 different cities, and all these specialists couldn't see me for months. Months. Liver, kidney, lung doctor, heart doctor, months. And I had to pull strings through medical people to even get there in 3 months. Some of them were trying to push me out at 6 months. I said, I'll never make it this far. So anyway, long story short, it took me months. It actually took me 6 months to see everybody. Did all kinds of tests, thousands of dollars. From my insurance, I have like a $10,000 out-of-pocket max, and I made that. But I did MRIs, I did, ultrasounds, and every test you could imagine from every specialist. And people, the liver doctor and the kidney doctors found spots on organs and all this stuff, and says, finally I think it was my kidney doctor. No, it was my liver doctor. She's retired now. She says, I don't like just talking to you and doing an interview on me. She says, I don't like the way this looks. I'm going to hook you up with this other specialist. And she ran a blood test on me. And later I found out I had cancer from another doctor. And then they ended up doing another MRI. And I hate those things. I had to get drugged the second one because the first one I did earlier, 3 months earlier, I had a panic attack inside that tube. The second time they gave me a slight sedative, and it helped a little bit, but I found out they didn't give me a very big dose, and it didn't do nothing. I hate those things. And then they finally did a biopsy to confirm it into stage 3. And I've done a bunch of treatments, and that went on for a while. This was all a year later. And so my respiratory all got well, and those doctors got me well. I take something now called Symbicort. And ever since I got on this, I don't want to talk about the other drug they put me on. It was like $2,500 a month, my part. And I said, I'd rather die than take that stuff. I can't comprehend giving somebody $2,500 a month to keep me alive. I know that's everybody's choice, but it's not my choice. I'm more of a agricultural product, and it just doesn't make sense. That does not make sense to me. It doesn't resonate. It doesn't resonate as an animal or human in my animal. My human spot, I just can't see spending $2,500 a month to stay alive. It doesn't fall into my brain that way. And it's like an agricultural decision. But that's between me and the Lord. It's my decision. But the Symbicort, it worked. And so my respiratory's been great. That part's been great. And the blessing in all this sickness I had 20 months ago is I found out I had cancer, and I got it in the early enough stage 3 instead of stage 4. Now, even if it's stage 4, I think with the research I've done now, you can beat cancer. You just have to attack it like you do a football game. And you're playing against a championship team. You got to work hard and do your homework, and there's a lot of hope in cancer battles now. So way more so than 40 years ago or 30 years ago. All my folks die of cancer. But so, man, I know this is going long, but I want to just share through this research, this is some of the stuff that I do. I will say I eat a lot of oatmeal. So that's just a diet thing. And I think that helps with digestion. I do have a bad habit. It's coffee. I have gone to black. That started about a year ago when I found out I had cancer. And the sugar, I don't want to use sugar in my diet and try to cut all the sugar because it feeds cancer. I have other thoughts on cancer, but we won't get into that today. So I do in the coffee in the morning and in the afternoon, I do a soursop gravola leaves of tea, and I do a tea bag in the afternoon, and it's different. Not everybody's gonna like that, but I still take one prescription from a doctor, and it's losartan. It is for blood pressure. I plan on getting off this probably by summer. My vitals on my blood pressure is way better than it used to be. And I've been battling that for 15 years, and it's way better than it used to be. It's from these products I've been taking. So another thing I take is some, put that in my coffee. It's called Hyssop, and this comes from a farm in Hawaii. It has a lot of beneficial. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying these things you need to do. I'm just saying things that I've researched and now I take daily. And it's so many pills. But here's one thing I take, and this is for my cancer. This is USDA organic apricot kernels. Now, these things are like poison. You can't eat more than about 3 or 4 of these a day. Then it turns into levels that will hurt you. But I eat about 2 or 3 of these, 4, most of the time 3 kernels a day. Put it in my mouth, chew it up. Very, very bitter. But I mean, it lasts 30 seconds. I wash it down with water after I chew it up. And that's supposed to really help the fight against all kinds of cancers. Because I take some things, and I'll just go ahead and tell you, I'm on fendobendazole. Some people's agriculturally, the Safeguard wormer, that's what fendobendazole is. I do 444. They have a 222. I do the 444 once a day for 6 days, and I do that twice a month. I alternate weeks, and I do it 6 days. It's the fendobendazole. I also do ivermectin. I just do 1 dose of ivermectin a month. It's more of a maintenance program. Starting out, you can do the ivermectin I use cattle wormer. It's cheaper. It's not clinically FDA approved, but I say don't do it. Don't do it. I'm just saying. That's what I do. It's a free country so far at this point. Don't do it. They say don't do it. I have medical people said don't do it because it's not FDA approved. They have it for humans. And I would say if you're going to do it with the human pills. I don't. I'm hard-headed. So I'm old. I have grace. I have a good relationship with Jesus, and I feel like that's my. If something happens to me, it's okay. So I also do this now because I take this worm medicine for cancer, for the parasites. Again, I'm not going to get into that discussion. Medical family, a lot of them say you're crazy. But I did do on my cancer treatments, I did what my oncologist said do. And I did what he did, but I'm doing this too from the research. But I do this turmeric, and they call it binders, but it's things you need to take if you're doing these alternative methods. I do black walnut wormwood, 1 pill a day. I do 1 pill a day of the turmeric. And they says use 2 pills a day, but I use so many, I just do 1. I take this Paraprotex. It's another binder, 1 pill a day. I do aged garlic. I do 1 a day. It says take 2. I do 1. Aged garlic. I do wild oregano oil. 1 a day. It says take 2. I do 1. I do 1 of everything. It's because I take so many. I do a vitamin D supplement. I do 2 a day. It's 20,000. I use 2 a day. Then I do beetroot, 1,000 milligrams a day, 1 a day. I also do vitamin C. I'm out of it right now. I do vitamin C. Again, I have not had the flu. I have not had COVID in a year and a half now. Since I've researched, started taking all this stuff, have not had that respiratory killer attack yet. I've had a couple colds. I even used my breathing machine a couple of times, like 2 times. But I hadn't had that 3-week breathing machine. I need to go to the hospital, and since I got sick that last time 20 months ago. I use some stuff called Testagreens. I think this is my immune system is partially because of all these pills. I do a prostate health with a combination of some mushrooms and herbs, and I do 1 a day of that. And I'm out of my nitrous oxide, I think it's called. I do 1 of those a day. It says take 2. I do 1. That's for my blood flow, heart. And I think all this is partially the reason I take all these things in is helping with my blood flow and my blood pressure. And some of these are for binders to where my liver does not have a problem with the fenbendazole and the ivermectin. And I mainly do that fenbendazole and ivermectin, not for COVID and all that stuff. I do it for my cancer. The research I've done is for cancer. And you got to have binders and got all these things. And so it's a bunch of pills daily. You know, why so many pills? And in the research of my research, just is what I feel led to do. And I think it contributes to, I did take a cancer test in November, and I'm due to take another one in a month. I check my blood work every 3 months, and it was great. And I don't have to do chemo this year. So far I don't, so that's good. because the chemo is really what I'm against, the chemo, because it really kills the cancer, but it kills the rest of your body too. And these methods here kills the parasites, the cancer, naturally, and it doesn't harm other things. So anyway, yeah, that's it. So that's all for today. I know I've gone long, but I'm gonna say farewell. And I'm Walter Hopper, Grandpa Hoppy. Got named by my grandkids, and now I go by Hoppy. And I hear Hoppy when I'm with them 100 times a day. I'm gonna always end by things that I used to do in my life that were kind of part time. So I'm a former judge candidate, former bug trapper for cotton boll weevils, and let's see, what's another one? Former, I used to wash buildings, pressure washer man. former judge candidate, and I lost, by the way, against a long tenured 20-year incumbent, and former bug trapper and former pressure washer man. So from the Retirement Chronicles, we're out. Talk to y'all later.